So it's been about 3 months since Mick Carter left the square. Ambiguously, he dived into the channel and didn't come back out. And the main question we have today is, 3 months on, do we actually miss Mick Carter? Piggy, what do you reckon?
No. Now, this might be controversial because people obviously love that. I'm just going to call him Danny Dyer because he essentially, he was just Danny Dyer without swearing. He was Danny Dyer like.
Yeah, agreed.
They couldn't get Danny Dyer to be like, fuck you, Phil, fuck you. I know I shouldn't say in the first 20 seconds, but basically they couldn't get him to be like, yeah, fuck you. What do you mean you want a fucking lager? Get a fucking cider, fuck you. They couldn't get him, obviously, like that. He had to be like, hello, I'm Mick Carter, but fuck you.
Great impression.
He was still Danny Dyer, like, no,
oh yeah,
about that.
Entirely.
But the problem was his character was nothing. It was just, I'm a family man who loves my wife, who cheats on me, and I also was abused as a child. And you're like, yeah, okay. What else happened?
I mean, one thing I will say is that I don't actually think it's that unpopular an opinion at this point. I think people quickly realised. Maybe people didn't realise it at the time. It feels like when Mick was in the square, it felt like he was like the main character.
Well, let's put it into perspective. Ross Kemp, I assume, wasn't famous before he joined EastEnders. I'd assume he was just a local actor who was in your plumbing ads, who was doing magazine covers.
Exactly.
Like how to fix your pipes. But the problem was, Ross Kemp became famous after EastEnders.
Yeah.
The problem BBC had was they were bringing in someone who was in GTA, who people made countless parodies of. He had his own TV show.
Yeah, he was a known name.
Yes, he was well known. So they couldn't really, like, Ross Kemp, I know they brought him back in 2016. He still wasn't the main focus. But, because they treated him like he was Ross Kemp, the local guy who drinks pints down the pub. The problem is they were bringing in Danny Dyer, who everyone takes the piss out of, but they had to make him the main focus because you're not gonna. Like, I don't know how much his contract was, but I bet it was lucrative.
Oh, he was
bet,
getting a mint.
Like, because you're not gonna bring Danny Dyer in and be like, okay, Danny, we want you to sit at the back while Phil does all the main work. You sit at the back while Shirley does all the talking. Like, if Danny Dyer is coming into EastEnders, Danny Dyer is not going to be sat in the back playing with his little thumbs, shadow boxing. He's going to be the main focus. That's where the problem lies. They brought in someone too well known in the UK. I say the UK because Americans are probably looking at it like Americans are like, who is Danny Dyer? Don't Google him. But that was the problem. He was essentially bigger than EastEnders.
Well, I don't think he was bigger than EastEnders, but I feel like he at least was always in the writer's ears. Like, yeah, I'm getting something big, right? Like, I'm still. It didn't help how he was obviously like running the pub for like 10 years. So he was pretty much, if they were outside of like the houses in the square, they were in the pub. So Mick was always there. And I think a lot of the big issue is that when you take away Mick's kids and you take away Linda, what does Mick actually have? But then it cuts to... He does have a lot of trauma. And then when he gets into this relationship with Janine, which seems genuine, it seems very genuine. But then on the final episode, they just go, well, I didn't like you anyways, you slag. And it's like... First and foremost, Mick would not manhandle the mother of his child. And second, he just kind of became this like action hero in the final episode. And it's like, you're taking the piss. Do you think we are on some like 6-episode short drama? This is EastEnders. Like, but
yeah, the problem was Danny Dyer. To me, I think, the way like in wrestling, there's obviously people who have like John Cena has creative control over his character.
Yeah.
Like John Cena can refuse to work with Billy Bob, the up and coming star.
Yeah.
I think that was the same with Danny Dyer. Danny Dyer had it in his contract that he has to have creative control over his character.
Yeah. Maybe
and I
not
think
even
Danny
just
Dyer was
control, just the ability to veto something. And maybe not
Yeah,
overall.
so
I don't think he had
basically
it overall, but I think he had it in the final episode for sure.
yeah, I
Like that
definitely
final
assume in
episode
the final
stank
episode.
of. There's been some meddling behind the scenes because, like, there were parts of Mick's character that we've never seen before, and it just became really contrived. And I also thought that the Mick and Janine thing, I thought it was genuine. I thought they made a nice couple when Mick wasn't too busy trying to help Linda and Janine wasn't too busy trying to mess with Linda. You know, fundamentally, they had it good.
Yeah, I do. The final episode is not for Mick. Is not a great ending for his character.
No,
Because his character just comes off stupid.
he does.
In my opinion.
It becomes
Like-
stupid and reckless. Like, why would you? Well, they also had to have the hero thing as well, where even though him and Janine weren't actually together anymore, he still saved his child, and it's like, just come on. There's just so many annoyances, and I suppose just to move away from the Christmas episode. Actually, no, one gripe. They used the song to build a home in his exit. And you know what? That was my most listened to song of 2022. And that song does not deserve to be put to that shite exit. Like,
I bet
I
Danny
was
Dyer was
fuming.
there like, "Oh, fuck this place."
You can't be giving him to build a home. Just give him Julia's theme. It hits better. He's not that big a character. Well, he was because they invested in him a lot. But you know, I think, and obviously, yeah, 3 months on, I don't miss him because ultimately the shows felt a lot fresh. Felt a lot more fresh.
Fresh, yes.
We've seen new characters come in. We've seen a lot of other people take the spotlight that he would have had. Like Denise. Let's say Denise has been the main character for the first 3 months of the year. She's been great. She's had an affair. She's now fighting back against this affair. Chelsea's getting some screen time. Like, there's so many other actors on the show that got nothing. So moral is, Mick Carter, Danny Dyer, take your time doing your vanity, mediocre action TV shows and your
Take your
shit
time.
game shows.
Take your time to bury the show that literally saved your career. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think going on Keith Lemon talking about your big bollocks is going to save your career. No, mate. What saves your career was EastEnders. And to go back and throw it in the people's face when they've literally invested years upon years upon years into your character. They've invested more into your character than they have to any other character in the past 10 years. That character work could have been on some great characters. But you decided, Danny Dyer, to be a big man and choose yourself that you have to be this action hero. And then you chose... And then you went on media and went, yeah, I don't like some of the actors. Where? Fuck you, Danny Dyer. Hope you don't come back. Like, you can't. Right, I understand. My gripe is, I understand if the actors went, hey, you know Mick Carter, absolute scumbag. Like, if they even drop the C word, I mean, yeah, absolute see you next Tuesday. Then I understand you can bury them because they buried your character on screen. But literally, they're still in the show without being in the show.
He could have died.
Not many characters get that.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so... I have been rubbed the wrong way with how he has been just like, oh well, the show's a bit shit, wasn't it? It's like, mate, come on.
Like, you were the most invested character, and yet you decide to throw it back in the face. What's the point of saying it was a bit shit? Why did you join in the first place? Literally, Mick Carter could have been better with anyone else playing it. Stuart Highway, the guy who plays Stuart Highway, could probably do a better Mick Carter than Danny Dyer. Like, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Like, even if they somehow recast Alan Woodyack, the guy who plays Ian Beale, as Mick Carter, I would be more invested. But like, Danny Dyer to just sit there on his little throne and be like, well, the show's a bit shit, isn't it? I didn't like some of the actors and actresses. I'm like, Danny, you were given the most screen time. Just piss off. You can comment on this video, Danny. Gladly, we'll invite you onto this podcast. You can speak your mind. We'll call you a bit of a shitbag because you are. You're utterly shit. You were the shittest guy in EastEnders. That's saying a lot because there are shit actors like Sack. You're the shittest actor on EastEnders. You're a shit actor in real life. You somehow were shitter than Keith Lemon on Keith Lemon's show, and Keith Lemon is pretty shit. You were somehow shit in GTA, and you were somehow shit in San Andreas. You were in the biggest GTA game of all time, and you somehow still managed to stink up the joint. Fuck you, Danny Dyer.
Oh, well done. Well done. That was incredible. You feel better having that weight let off your shoulders.
Yeah. No, but you know what I mean? Like, he's
oh, no,
been giving all
entirely.
these opportunities, and he's spitting it back in the faces of people. Like if I left watching Walford tomorrow, and then the person who does Eastleigh Entertain, Slater, was to replace me, I'm not going to go onto media outlets and be like, well, it was fucking shit working with Ash, wasn't it? And then Ash was like, well, I gave you a platform to talk. Yeah, but it was fucking shit working with him. Like, I'm not going to do that. You don't belittle the people who made you.
Yeah.
Unless Ash tomorrow fired me. Well, even though we don't have a contract, he fired me. If he went on next week's podcast, man, well, Piggy's a bit of a shit bag. Fuck him, fuck his family. I hope they all get cancer and die. Then I have the right to speak out. But if he says nothing but love, like the EastEnders behind the scenes have, then you shouldn't give out hate. They've been giving you love, Danny, and you've been giving them hate. Fuck you, honestly. The show's been better without you. Characters complete.
God, that's incredible. I don't even have anything much better to add. Moral is, we are happy that Mick Carter's gone. I think you will as well, because ultimately he was a bit of a shitbag, wasn't he? But what's your? I suppose one thing to actually appreciate, the scene where his son. Who am I talking about? Johnny. The scene where Johnny comes out to Mick is actually incredible, though. Like, absolutely nailed that one. Is Johnny gay? Yeah, Johnny Carter, their son, is gay, and he came out in this scene. It was really emotional. It's really well done. But otherwise...
I will give Danny Dyer credit, because I do remember a scene. It's the scene where Tina Carter is murdered. Yeah. And he's basically on this, like, he's on top of a roof. He's about to commit suicide. I will give him credit. That was good. But I just can't get over the fact that you played Danny Dyer for 10 years. You played Danny Dyer, who was on a leash for 10 years. Yeah. And now you're going over to Australia, being Danny Dyer, but Australian. And wherever you go, you're going to be Danny Dyer, but this, Danny Dyer, but that. I don't care if you're going to be in 60 different shows. At least grow a pair of bollocks. Well, apparently you have a big pair of bollocks. But grow a pair of bollocks and play a different character for it. Because every single character you've played has basically been Danny Dyer, but in so and so forth. Like, you were Danny Dyer in GTA, Danny Dyer on Keith Lemon, you were Danny Dyer on EastEnders, you were Danny Dyer doing your own TV show. Jesus.
Oh, mate, honestly,
change your character.
It's impressive. It's genuinely impressive how much you've gotten upset by it. Yeah.
No, but I don't like.
No, I completely get it.
I don't like when you throw things back into people's faces.
Yeah, I get that. But
I understand it's the common thing to do when you leave EastEnders.
Well, it is what you do, because ultimately, when he comes back in 5 years, he's gonna be like,
Oi, you lads, get another 0 on that fucking contract.
And they'll be like, oh yes, yes, Danny Dyer, that's perfectly fine. We'll pay you 7 million. it's what Adam Woodyard did when he left. Because he left because he was going through his divorce, and then pretty much went, shit, I should probably get rid of all of my finances. Let's move into a caravan. I don't own a house. Nobody owns a house. Yeah, I don't own anything. I'm poor. And then, also went, oh, I'm never coming back. And then they went, I'm always going back. So, yeah.
Homeless Mick Carter went.
But yeah, I mean, moral is, we aren't particularly sad about Mick leaving. But are you sad about him leaving? And
Probably not.
when do you want him back? If you want him back, or not? Should he never come back? I'd love to hear. But I also think it's a surprisingly popular opinion at this point. Like, I do think people have gotten over him and realised, man, it feels like there's been a massive weight lifted off the show. But we have been easily entertained. I have been
Easily
Ash.
entertained.
Oh, this isn't easy entertained. This has been Watching Walford. I have been Ash, and I've been joined by Piggy.
And I've been joined by the Seal and
Indeed.
Danny Dyer's big bollocks.